Easy. Hmm? Okay. I'm online. This one. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. P.V. Rao, Associate Professor in Orthopedics. Today, I would like to cover the congenital deformities of the musculoskeletal system. This should have been last week lecture, but somehow, due to some technical problems, Dr. Janaki Madam has taken developmental dysplasia of the hip joint, that is otherwise known as congenital dislocation of the hip. Today, main topic which I am going to cover is CTEV. Along with it, congenital deformities of the musculoskeletal system also I will be saying in brief. Okay, with this, I'll go to the first slide. Congenital deformities can happen when in the cellular stage or an embryonic stage or early fetal stage or late fetal stage. In cellular stage means the defects will be genetic in origin, that is inherited from the parents. Example is achondroplasia, polydactyly or something like that. Embryonic stage is chromosomal malformations are the causatives for embryonic stage of it. Down syndrome is example of embryonic stage musculoskeletal and congenital anomalies. Next is early fetal stage of development. That is, it is maybe due to drugs or irradiation by X-rays or by some infections like German measles or something like that. Drugs or thalidomide should not be given, alcohol should not be consumed, steroids should not be taken. All these things are likely to produce some deformities in the newborn baby. Congenital deficiency, the examples are congenital limb deficiencies, Pocomelia or something like that. Clubfoot is another thing which is likely to happen. Spina bifida is another example. Developmental dysplasia of the hip is another example of this. Early fetal stage development abnormalities. The last is late fetal stage. This is mostly mechanical. If the baby is big and uterus is small, there will be cramped space, and that is mechanical factor or postural factor, whatever it is. Supposing amniotic fluid is less, again the fetus will be cramped in the uterus. It may develop some deformities. That is clubfoot and genu recurvatum. Clubfoot is regarding the foot and genu recurvatum is knee. Hyperextension of the knee is genu recurvatum. These are in a nutshell what are the congenital deformities orthopedic wise. That is orthopedic wise what are the congenital deformities. Next, I am going to cover CTEV because CTEV, the dysplastic developed hip is one question for you in the final year examination, and CTEV is again another question for you in the final year examination. So we would like to cover in detail about the CTEV and just go through at a rapid pace rest of the deformities. There may be a short notes or there may not be. Coming to the clubfoot. This is the most common congenital deformity as far as orthopedics is concerned. It is more common in India than in Western countries. I will just go through what is clubfoot in a nutshell and then proceed with the slides and try to explain you in a little more detail. Congenital talipes equinovarus. Congenital means it is present at the birth. Talipes is derived from the talus plus pes. Talus and pes means foot. Both are deformed. That's why it is known as talipes. Equinus deformity is plantar flexion at the ankle is equinus. Varus again medial deviation of the calcaneum. Medial deviation of the calcaneum is varus. Congenital talus equinovarus. Congenital talus equinovarus means it is present at the time of the birth. talipus means talus is deformed, and talus will be plantar warts. Plantar warts are in equinus position, and calcaneum will be in a varus position, that is medial deviation. This is the basic deformity of the congenital talipus equinus or varus. As you know, foot, if you take foot, it consists of ankle, hind foot, midfoot, and forefoot. Ankle is talotibial joint. Hind foot, it consists of calcaneotalus joint and talonavicular joint. And midfoot consists of mid-tarsal joints and proximal joint, that is tarso-metatarsal joints. Forefoot is distal to the tarso-metatarsal joint is forefoot. When you come to the deformities, ankle is part of the foot. Ankle is in equinus position, that is plantar flexion. If you take ankle, this is plantar flexion in position. If you take the hind foot consists of calcaneum basically. Calcaneum is in varus position and little in medially rotated. This is the calcaneal deformity. That is most important part you should know about it. In midfoot and forefoot, there is adduction of the forefoot and little medial deviation or inversion of the forefoot. And there is an increase in the cavus deformity. What is cavus deformity? It is arch of the foot. It is arching of the foot. It is increase. Cavus is increased. These are the basic deformities which are seen in the congenital talipus equinovarus. One is adduction of the calcaneum, varus or adduction of the calcaneum, and adduction of the midfoot and forefoot, and little supination or inward rotation, and cavus, increased cavus deformity. These are caused by some bony abnormalities and soft tissue and capsular abnormalities. When coming to the etiology, early Hippocrates postulated this deformity is a mechanical in origin. Position of the uterus will cause this. That's one thing. And later on, many theories came. One of the theory which is gaining in popularity is germ class theory. That is, development of the talus is delayed and it is defective. That's why they produce. In addition to the bony changes, there will be many soft tissue changes, like muscles will be contracted and capsules will be contracted and ligaments will be contracted. All these things produce. And in the deformity, if you see it, the medial border of the foot is concave and the lateral border of the foot is convex. This is again another feature of the club foot. Slide mark. Close here. Okay. Okay. Hippocrates first described clubfoot, congenital talipus equinovarus. Talipus is called talus, acts as a foot. Talus acts as a foot. Also called as a clubfoot because it resembles the golf club. Something like that, golf club. Mostly it represents the congenital dysplasia of all musculoskeletal tissues distal to the knee joint. I just forgot to tell, calcaneum will be small and there may be torsion of the tibia medially. Medial torsion of the tibia may also be there as far as the deformities are concerned. It is mostly represent the congenital dysplasia of all the musculoskeletal tissues distal to the knee joint. Incidence, coming to the incidence, more in males. Here in the slide it is the 3:1 it's put. Some authors have put it as 2:1, and firstborn are more affected. Bilateral, unilateral is equal, almost 50-50. Bilateral to unilateral it's 50-50%. Coming to the osseous, coming to the etiology, I have already told you what is causative organ. It may be osseous, it may be muscular type, it may be neuropathic, neurogenic. Risk factors are amniocentesis and smoking are risk factors of the CTEB. Clubfoot may occur as an isolated disorder or in combination with various other syndromes associated, like arthrogryposis multiplexa, sacral agenesis, amniotic bands, Larson syndrome, diastrophic things, and dwarfism, and Freeman-Sheldon syndrome, and myelodysplasia. Here are the etiological theories. Main theory is 6. Germ plasma theory is gaining in popularity as of now. That is, development of the talus is defective. It is supported by, usually in the X-rays, first 3 months, no center will be visible in the first 3 months, and centers of ossification start appearing from 3rd month onwards. In clubfoot people, the center for ossification for talus is delayed. That's why the germ plasma theory is gaining in support. And coming to the another main aspect of the clubfoot is talonavicular joint. Medial displacement of the navicular is one of the major defects in clubfoot. Medial displacement of the navicular over the head of the talus. Talus is in equinus position. Talus head is in equinus position, and navicular will displace medially. Usually, if you feel there is a gap between the tip of the navicular and the medial malleolus. In clubfoot, navicular tip will almost be very near to the medial malleolus. Medial malleolus. Medial malleolus. That is another thing which we wanted to say. Medial displacement, navicular and calcaneal happen. This congenital atresia of the talonavicular joint is another theory. 3-dimensional bony deformity of the subtalar complex is another one. Compression of the malposition of the fetus in register. That's what I told you. It is more common in breech presentation, and it is more common in when amniotic fluid is less. Genetic. It is also known as genetic. Soft tissue, primary soft tissue defects also may cause this, and that was another theory. Parental muscle prenatal muscle weakness or imbalance is another one theory. But most important is position of the fetus in the uterus, and cramped position of the fetus in the uterus is one of the important factors. Other one is the germ plasma theory. This is acquired talipes equinovarus. I have just included for completion's sake. It is not present at the birth, and it happens afterwards. Causes are poliomyelitis, arthrogryposis multiplexa congenita, spina bifida, dystrophic dysplasia, meningomyelocele, spinal diagnosis. We have so far covered what is the basic defects in the clubfoot, and what are the likely causes which are likely to produce the things. Over the past 5 years, several genetic factors have been implicated in the population and families studies in the club food. Maternal smoking is one of the risk factors. TBX4 gene is another factor that has been postulated. Anatomy, I have already told you, ankle joint, subtalar joint, and talonavicular joint, and calcaneocuboid joint are the ones which are involved. Again, midfoot and forefoot are also involved. Hindfoot, talocalcaneal joint and talocuboid joint is the hindfoot. Midfoot is talonavicular and navicular cuneiform joint, and forefoot is cuneiform metatarsal and other joints are the forefoot joints. Usually combination of deformities. Most common is equinovarus. Another common is calcaneovalgus. Calcaneovalgus deformity. Here you can see this is calcaneovalgus deformity or something. We don't talk much about that calcaneovalgus. We talk about equinovarus deformity now. Clubfoot complex secondary to deformities. Secondary to clubfoot, what can happen is foot size is small, the concave medial border, convex lateral border, callosities over the dorsum of the foot. Callosities starts develop when patient starts walking, because talus will bear the weight. Talus will become the load-bearing bone on the foot. That's why the callosities will start forming on the weight-bearing area. Hypertrophic or absent anterior artery, atrophy of the muscles. Pathoanatomy, also I have told you what can happen and all those things. Here, in the what I have talked has been depicted. Calcaneus is in varus position. Talus is displaced medially and plantarwards. Navicular is medially displaced and rotated. Cuboid is displaced medially and articulates with the non-articular surface of the calcaneum. Metatarsals deviate medially at the tarsometatarsal joints. Talocalcaneal articulation is a ball and socket joint. The anterior and middle articulation of the calcaneum forms the socket, and head of the talus forms the ball in which it is dislocated in CTB. Tibia usually shows medial torsion. Rarely lateral torsion can happen. In short, all the above bones are displaced down and medially in the case of CTB. The talonavicular body declination angle is invariably decreased with neck axis approximating 90 degrees to the axis of the body in some specimens as compared with the normal 150 to 160 degrees. The articular surface of the talar head may be found so close to the body that true neck may not be present. The fact that the radiographic appearance of the ossification center of the talus is delayed further supports the hypothesis of primary germ class defect. That's what I have already told you. This is the pathoanatomy of the soft tissues. Structures contracted on the medial side, 3, 3, 3, all the three. Flexor hallucis longus, tibialis posterior are contracted. Ligaments, deltoid ligament, spring ligament, and plantar ligament, plantar fascia is contracted. Capsules, 3 capsules, subtalar capsules and tarsal joint capsules and tarsometatarsal joint capsules are contracted. Structures contracted on the posterior side is 2 each. Tibialis posterior, tendoachelis. Ligaments contracted on the posterior aspect is talofibrillar and calcaneofibrillar. Capsules contracted is ankle joint capsule and subtalar joint capsule are contracted posteriorly. Structures involved in the anterior side. Muscles are tibialis anterior inserted abnormally. Ligament is superior peroneal retinacula and capsule is calcaneocuboid capsule. This is about in nutshell etiology and pathology of the clubfoot. Coming to the Then we come to the clinical features. Then we come to the clinical features. Clubfoot, once you see a clubfoot, you will never fail to diagnose a clubfoot. That is equinus deformity and a small calcaneum. Calcaneum is rotated and navicular is medially displaced, and forefoot, that is adducted and little supinated or in rotated inwards. And there is an increase in the cavus. These are the basic things which you can do. Normally, in a newborn child, you can make the dorsum of the foot touch the tibia. That is a normally, if you make it, dorsum of the foot will touch the tibia. Here, in this case, it does not happen due to stiffness of the tendoachilles and equinus deformity. You have to look for all these things: equinus, varus, cavus, forefoot adduction, the internal rotation of the torsion, and late changes. Late changes are degenerative changes of the joints. When once patient starts walking on the clubfoot, most of the times in Western countries, people come early to the treatment, but for in India, they come late. Even after 3 to 4 years of walking, they come, so they will see a lot of secondary deformities. Like secondary deformities. They start walking on the foot with a club foot. They come with deformities which are with secondary bony changes. Foot size is decreased to 50%. Medial board is concave, lateral board is convex. Forefoot is plantar flexed upon the hind foot. Skin is stretched over the dorsum of the foot. Callosities are present over the dorsum of the foot where the weight bearing is there. Stumbling gait will be there. Hypertrophic anterior tibial artery. Hypotrophic, correction. Atrophy of the muscles, anterior and posterior compartment of the legs can happen. This is what I have told you. Dorsiflexion test. Newborn, it is possible to dorsiflect the foot till it touches the body. It does not happen. Another text is measure the tibial torsion. Tibial torsion can be measured. If you draw a line from tibia tubercle down straight, it passes through the first or second metatarsal bones. Here in this, there will be, if the torsion is medial, there will be deviation, or if the torsion is lateral, there will be lateral deviation or something like that. Scratch test. If the medial side is scratched, foot inwards. If the lateral side is scratched, foot inwards. That is some of the tests which you can do when you are examining a case of CTTP. This is again all have been repetitions. Equinus at the ankle joint, inversion of the subtalar joints, adduction of the forefoot, and cavus, excessive cavus and forefoot, internal torsion of tibia. These are all been told again and again. It's a repetition of slide. Other features are, this also have been covered. Bilateral, 50 to 60%. Foot is smaller. Foot is an equinovarus deformity. Heel is small. Deep skin creases on the medial side will happen because of the rotation. Skin creases will be increasing. Bony prominence on the lateral side. Foot convex on the lateral side and concave on the medial side. Callosities may be seen. On an attempted correction, plantar and medial structures feel tight. Resistant clubfoot, recurrent clubfoot, neglected clubfoot are the 3 terms which I am going to talk to you. Does not respond to non-operative treatment is resistant clubfoot. Recurrent is whose deformities are recurrent. After correction, and foot we feel it is normal, and we ask him to go about, and he comes with recurrence of deformities. Neglected means presence late, that is after walking. You can see the figure. This is already he is walking. He is walking on the talus. Here, this is the surface where the callosities will be. You can see the adduction of the calcaneum here, and forefoot deformities. Okay. Primary or secondary? Primary is present since birth. Second, bilateral is 60%. Foot size is much smaller. Heel spine is small and small. Skin chubby and creases are present. Nervous system normal. Prognosis is good. Secondary, sometimes since birth, usually unilateral, normal by small foot. Atrophic and absent creases. Motor and sensory loss will be there, and the prognosis is poor in secondary things. True club foot, postural club foot. These are the two terms which I am trying to clarify. Lack of correctability, presence of rigidity, and true equiness is true club foot. Postural club foot is mild manifestation, can be possibly corrected by several minutes of gentle stretching. That is the postural club foot. Now we come to a doctor by name Pirani, who has classified the clubfoot deformities into different grades. The scores he gives is 0.5 and 1. Depending on the score, we'll decide the treatment. Six parameters are included. 6 parameters are given. 3 midfoot, 3 hindfoot. 0 is normal, 0.5 is moderately abnormal, 1 is very abnormal. This is the Pirani scoring. Lateral border. When once this is self-explanatory almost. The picture itself is self-explanatory. 1 is lateral border. You can see the 0 is how 0 looks like, and 0.5 over that looks like, and 1 looks like this. Next is rigidity of the equinus. 0 is flexible, it goes up. 0.5 is resist. 1 is totally resistant. Medial folds again, that is again so shown here, 0.5 and 1. Palpation of the calcaneus. 0 is easily calcaneum is palpable. 0.5 is palpable in depth, and not palpable is 0.1. One score is 1. Palpation of the talar head, not palpable is 0. Partially palpable is, easily palpable is 1. And posterior fold. Posterior fold is again like that, 0.5 and 1. These are the things. This is the posterior fold. Uses of the Pirani score indicates whether we can do conservative treatment or whether it needs any soft tissue releases or something like that. Is estimation. It's an indication whether the Pirani score indicates if the score is low, with manipulation and cast it can be corrected. If the score is little high, it may require soft tissue releases. That is the usefulness of Pirani score. Coming to the investigations, first 3 months X-rays are useless because ossification centers won't happen. AP and lateral views. Lateral view is taken in stress. Dorsiflexion lateral view, standing lateral view are taken. Standing lateral view is taken only when the baby or child is able to stand. AP. Usually, the line along the axis of the talus passes through the navicular and the first metatarsal. In CTV, it passes through the third or fourth metatarsal. I'll show the figure a little later. Another thing is talocalcaneal angle. Normal is 20 to 40, and for the CTV, these lines may be parallel or more. This is what I have told you earlier. Normal line, axis of the talus passes through the navicular and first metatarsal, and in CTV it passes through the third and fourth metatarsal. That's what this is normal. It is passing through the first metatarsal. Here in CTV, because of the dislocation of the navicular, it is passing through the third metatarsal. This is the first one which I have explained in the earlier slide. This is another thing. Second thing I have told you is axis. This is again known as Kite's angle. Kite's angle is long axis of the a line drawn in the long axis of the calcaneum and talus are make an angle of between 20 to 40 degrees. In clubfoot, they may be parallel or below 20 degrees. Long axis of the calcaneum and long axis of the talus. Long axis of the talus, long axis of the calcaneum. They make an angle of roughly 20 to 40 degrees, and if it is parallel or below 20, it's a CTV. Now we come to the treatment part of the CTV. What is the aim of the treatment? Aim of the treatment is to give a plantigrade foot, flexible foot, and painless foot. These are the three aims of treatment. Plantigrade means 90 degree. When you are standing, ankle makes a 90-degree angle between tibia and the foot, 90 degrees. That is plantigrade foot, which we call it as. We have to give a plantigrade foot and a supple foot and painless foot. These are the three aims. And here, a word which I would like to take is, if you start the treatment early, result will be excellent. If you start the treatment late, results may not be that good. That is the main thing which is it. And most of the time, CTV does not require surgery. Most of the times. Majority of the cases. Child born with CTV, first 3 weeks, probably we may not interfere. We will educate the mother to do stretching exercises daily, twice or thrice or as many times as possible. Stretching exercises, correction of the equinus deformity. Halfway between, halfway sir. చెప్తున్నా Sorry for the interruption. Dean sir came for some doubt, so I was forced to interrupt class for a few minutes. Sorry for the interruption. What I was talking about the things. Mother should be educated to do passive stretching exercises. Deformities are equinus, forefoot adduction, and varus of the calcaneum. Opposite movement should be educated to the mother to do gently. If she does roughly, she may produce some fractures of it. So gentle manipulation should be educated to the mother so that she can start. Usually, the opinions differ. Some people start the treatment from 3 to 4 weeks time. Some people start at the 2 weeks. And the frequency is, we do manipulation and put a cast and keep it for about 2 to 3 weeks. And again do remanipulation, put the cast. Some orthopedic surgeons do it every 2 weeks. Some orthopedic surgeons do do it every 3 weeks, and some are there who will do it at the interval of 1 month also. But most commonly done is 2 to 3 weeks time. The most common practice is do manipulations and correct the deformities and put a cast and keep it for 2 to 3 weeks and remanipulate till the deformity gets corrected. In the correction also, there is a sequence in correction. First, cavus deformity has to be corrected. First, you have to pay attention to the correction of the cavus deformity. Then, forefoot adduction and inversion has to be corrected. Last one to be corrected is equinus deformity. This is the sequence in which we have to correct. Okay. I think that you have followed what it is, what I have talked about. If the cavus is over-corrected or over-enthusiastically corrected, we may produce rocker bottom deformity. That is, foot will become like this. Sole of the foot will become like this. Sorry, I don't know. Reverse. I have to put it reverse. The palmar surface will be like a arch. That should not happen. And during the process, treatment, periodically, the success of correction is assessed by the treating doctor. Sometimes, if the success of the correction is not adequate, soft tissue releases are indicated. Soft tissue releases are some tenotomies and fasciotomies or capsulotomies are indicated. In the tenotomies, TA, subcutaneous TA, tendoachilles tenotomy can be done, and medial side ligaments can be released to help the correction of the foot. Principle is correction of the deformity and its maintenance. Correction of the deformity is non-operative or operative. Operative, I'll come to the non-operative is most important because most of the congenital CTV cases can be corrected non-operatively. Multiple manipulations are needed. And the Ponseti is the one who has pioneered the conservative management of the CTV with some soft tissue releases. Protocol consists of stretching and manipulating the foot and applying holding gas until the next session, 5 to 7 days. The interval between the session to session varies from surgeon to surgeon. Some people do it once in 2 weeks, some people do it once in 3 weeks or something like that. These are the pictures, correction pictures and holding the in corrected position. The cast usually should be above knee with the knee in 90-degree flexion. That should be the way you should put the cast. Equinus is the last deformity to be corrected. I told you, first is the cavus, next is the forefoot adduction and supination. Last one is equinus. These are some of the ways which we do it. To facilitate more rapid correction, subcutaneous heel car tenotomy is, that's what I have told you. With manipulations, we periodically review the progress. If the progress is not satisfactory, we augment with soft tissue surgeries like tenotomies or soft tissue releases or capsulotomies or something like that. These are the techniques of percutaneous tenotomies and all those things which is shown. These are the serial manipulation casts, how they look like. Maintenance. When once we have achieved a plantigrade foot, we should not leave him. We should give him a shoe which will keep the foot in the corrected position for some time, so that the the achieved correction will maintain. This is what is known as Dennis-Brown shoe. This is how it looks like, and the child will be wearing it for a long time till he starts walking and walks with a normal foot. This has to be there. This is Dennis-Brown splint. This is how it looks like. This has to be kept for a long till the patient starts walking. Coming to the operations, depending on the success of the manipulation or something like that, soft tissue surgeries and bony surgeries are indicated. Below 3, mostly soft tissue surgeries are sufficient, and above 3, bony surgeries are required. Soft tissue surgeries, I have already told you about the TA tendoichlis tenotomy and medial release. Plantar fascia and medial structures has to be released. Instead of as the child grows and presents at a later stage, instead of tenotomy, we can lengthen the tendoichlis or something like that. Posterior capsule release also can be added to the posterior capsule. Ankle joint capsule can also be released so as to correct the equinus deformities. Sometimes we may do lengthening of the tendons like tibialis posterior, flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum, release of 3 ligaments, tendonavicular ligament and spring ligament, superficial part of the deltoid ligament also can be released, and release of the other structures such as interosseous ligament and capsules. Plantar set, plantar fascia release of the short flexors of the shoulders can be done. These are all the names of the surgeries which, in a nutshell, manipulation with soft tissue release is successful in the early age, and it requires bony surgery at a later stage when once patient starts walking. Tendon transfers and all those things are coming to this. This is one operation to correct if the adduction of the calcaneum is severe and osteotomy of the calcaneum is indicated. That is known as Dwyer's osteotomy. This is how it is been done. You take a wedge of calcaneum, correct the deformity, make it straight. That is Dwyer's osteotomy is required. And if it is still later, we can do soft tissue releases along with fusion of the joints. That is subtalar joint and talonavicular joint and calcaneal joint and talonavicular joint and all those things. That is triple orthodesis or pantalar orthodesis as can be done. That is how it is done. Along with the soft tissue release, we correct the deformity and fuse the bones in the corrected position. This is one method which is not so. Okay. There is some technical problem. Just we are trying to come back to you in a moment. There are some of the picture depictions of the operation which have been done, and what are the structures released also done. Tendon transfers and tendon lengthenings can be done, and arthrodesis can be done. We are almost at this stage. Triple arthrodesis is the one. If the child presents at the age of 4 to 5 years with bony changes of peritalar arthritis, we have to fuse the joints and the corrected position or something like that. Iligurov is one method which is gaining in popularity nowadays. This is how it looks like. Iligurov method, slowly deformities will be corrected to the normal foot position, and it will be retained for some time, and then the Iligurov is removed and made to walk. Patient is made to walk or something like that. Maintenance of the direction, I have told you how to do it. This is modification of the footwear, how to do it. Post-operative complications, loss of correction with the recurrence of the deformity, dorsal subluxation of the navicular, valgus overcorrection, and dorsal bunion are the complication. And rocker bottom deformity is another complication if you do it not rightly. Other congenital deformities, that is what I have talked is about CTE, which is the main topic of today. And coming to the rest of the congenital deformities, I am just naming them and shortly going through them. Lower limb, congenital genu recurvatum, that is hyperextension of the knee joint, is congenital genu recurvatum. It is postural mostly. Upper limb, Sprengel shoulder is one thing, triple field syndrome is another thing, and winging of scapula is one thing, and congenital radioulnar synostosis and Madelung's deformity and syndactyly and polydactyly are the other congenital deformities. Congenital genu varum, I have told you, it is hyperextension of the knee joint. Sprengel shoulder. Scapula is usually in the intrauterine life is cervical, and as the development progresses, scapula descends down to the normal position. Sometimes it fails to descend to the normal position, it is elevated, that is known as Sprengel shoulder. This is congenital hyperextension, that is congenital hyperextension I have shown you in the figure, and triple field syndrome is fusion of the cervical vertebra, fusion of the at least two vertebrae of the neck. It is depicted by short neck and low hairline or something like that. These are again Madelung's deformities at the wrist, and Sprengel shoulder is elevation of the shoulder, and congenital radioulnar synostosis. In supination pronation, there is a movement. There is a joint, and the upper radioulnar and lower radioulnar joints are there. If they are fused, there won't be any supination and pronation. That is radioulnar synostosis. This is polydactyly. Finally, we come to the conclusion: catch them young and treat them young is the catchword of the treatment. If the congenital deformities are treated early, the results will be satisfactory to the patient and to the doctor who is treating. Thank you. And I have given my email address. If there are any doubts, probably you may have many doubts about the topic, and mail them to this mail so that we can answer the doubts at a later lecture. Next is Type में mail here and thank you so much. Thank you so much. Process.